Hey folks, this is Eric with Green Mountain Grills. In this segment I want to show you how to replace the auger assembly in your Davy Crockett. I'm also going to show you how to replace the combustion fan. Now the combustion fan is mounted to the bottom of the auger assembly. You do not need to remove the box and you do not need to remove the auger assembly to access it. You're simply going to go from under the hopper box here. This is going to be what you're looking at. You only have to take off 4 Phillips headed screws here, 2 inline connectors, connect it to the wiring for the combustion fan, and it simply comes off and the new one goes on. Now, one side of your fan here is going to have some writing on it. You want to make sure that that side of the fan is bolted up against the housing of the auger assembly here. So you cannot see the writing because it is up against the auger assembly. First step is to remove the control panel and free up the wires. You need a 7mm socket wrench. That control panel is just going to come forward. You'll unplug the main wiring harness and the thermal sensor wire there. Set that aside and you're ready to take off the hopper box. Make sure you empty the pellets first. You just have 2 10mm bolts in the front and 2 in the back. Now that we've removed all of the bolts, we're ready to take off the hopper box. That's simply just going to slide off. You want to flip it upside down and lay it right on its head. Okay, you have a series of wires here to unplug to free up that auger assembly. You're just going to simply unsnap those. Like so. Okay, next we're going to take off this thermal sensor. Set that aside. Make sure you don't lose your little silver thermal washers here. Okay, finally you're ready to remove the bolts that are holding this auger assembly on. And they're 10mm as well. All right, now that we have our 4 auger assembly bolts removed, the last thing we're going to need to do is take this grommet off of the igniter wires. Sometimes a pair of needle nose pliers can help with that. Just want to go straight in, work that tab out there, remove that grommet. Once you do that, fish the igniter wires back through that hole, and that will enable you to pull the auger assembly out of the side of the grill. From that point on, take your new assembly, fish the igniter wires back through that same hole you just removed them from. I like to get these bolts back in here first. Okay, next you want to make sure to reinsert your igniter wire gasket here, or grommet. Snaps into place. Make sure you reinsert the auger assembly gasket right on top here. Only go one direction. Now, in case you forgot, I want to go over exactly which wires plug back into where. You have 3 sets here that are the same colors. Obviously, red goes to red, black goes to black. Starting on the far left side, the blue ones here are for your igniter. So those will simply go into these here. The polarity does not matter on those. Okay, the next closest one in from the blue The next set will be your fan wires. So that's the fan that's on the bottom of the auger assembly here. Make sure you get red with red, black with black. The next set in will be your auger motor wires. Back here we have the auger motor. And then finally the last set, just for your reference, is the power, which comes in from the female plug here on the back of the hopper. And that one should still be intact. All right, make sure to reinstall your gasket here. It sits right on top of the auger assembly. It's a very important piece to the performance of your grill. And we're ready to reinstall the thermal sensor. Now these thermal sensors need to have at least a couple thermal washers on each side of the body of the grill. And what that's going to do is it's going to insulate your thermal sensor from the steel of the grill, which radiates heat a lot differently than the air inside the grill. So having those thermal washers on there ensures that you're getting an air temperature reading rather than the steel. Finger tight's plenty good for that component. Make sure to have your thermal sensor wire hanging safely down the side of your auger assembly, and you're ready to put the box back on. Now these wires are going to be hanging out the bottom here, but later we can go back and we can zip tie those out of the way. All right, now you're ready to put the bolts back in. 2 in the back and 2 in the front. All right, next bring up your main wiring harness here, plug, and the thermal sensor plug. That's going to go right back into the back of your control panel. Just like so. Tighten up your 7mm bolts. All right, so now that we have the control panel reinstalled, you'll need to prime your auger and you're ready to cook.